Hi, my name is Graham McWilliam. I'm with PowerMax, and today we're going to do a quick installation video for our mainboard assembly into some of the other popular power centers out in the market today. So here we've got our PM3 55 mba I talked about earlier. Today we're going to demonstrate installing this into the base of our competitor's power center. In the box you've got the lower tray mba. Also comes with a manual with detailed instructions on how to follow, and again today we're just going to go through this for you. Taking a closer look at our MBA, we've got our thicker DC cable here, obviously the white for the neutral and the red for the positive, and then going across to the AC side, the thinner cabling, again we have the white for the neutral and the black for the positive, and then in here too we've got the addition of the ground cable. Closer look, our units are lithium compatible, and if we are going to use it for lithium battery, we would need to make a small adjustment here, move this toggle switch from the 3-stage, pushing across to the right to the single stage, which is ideal for charging lithium batteries. If you do need to make any voltage adjustment, you'd simply make that on the adjustment here, and that can be turned up or down in the range of 13 through 16.5 volts. So next we're moving on to the power center, inside which we're going to be swapping out the lower section replacement tray. So once you've removed the cover, which we already did earlier today, you're going to get access to the internal parts of the power center. Across on the right hand side we've got the DC board. In the center is the AC section with the breakers already here, and obviously from this one you can see that the unit is connected in on the 110 side. Okay, so once we have the front panel off, we need to make sure that there's no 110 coming into this. So for our purposes here, the breakers are off. So I'm going to go through removing now the 110 leads for the converter. We're going to start with the breaker, then we're going to move on to the neutral, and then finishing with the ground. Then we're going to feed these all through the base and the hole, make sure everything's clear on the 110 side. Okay, so next we're going to move to the DC side of the power center, and then up at the top we have our live positive cable and then the DC cable. We're going to loosen both of those. It's best to do this prior to releasing the DC board because it does give you a bit of leverage on the screws itself. So we're going ahead to loosen these out now. Next you want to move to releasing the DC board itself. There's a small tab down here to the base. We're going to push that in, and then from behind just slowly pull forward, and then that should release the board from the 2 tabs up top. Now we've got the board totally out, we can finish unscrewing the 2 positive and negative terminals from the DC board. And then finally, just filtering those cables down through the hole. So we have all the wiring out to the side. And then the last step we're going to do, we just need to remove the 2 tabs that hold the unit in place. Okay, once we've got these 2 screws out now, it's loose. The unit should just simply slide forward and come out, leaving an empty tray in the base. Next we'll move on to how we install the PowerMax MBA. Okay, and next we come to installing the PowerMax MBA. Prior to that, one thing you will notice is on our units the AC side and the DC side are on opposites to some of the competitors. So prior to installing and sliding this into the base, I just recommend you loosen all the cable and then stretch it out. We do provide you with up to 24 inches of cable, which is more than enough to wrap that around to the DC board and obviously the 110 breaker. So again, simply we're just going to slide this into the base, making sure there's enough room, we don't pinch any cables on the way in. Now that we've got the unit in place, we can just feed the cable, DC cabling back through the hole here and get that ready to install onto the DC board. Just make sure when you're feeding this through, nothing catches. There are some sharp edges there. Okay, next we get our DC board together, and we're going to be installing the positive cable and negative cable onto the connection points in the board, and then just tightening those up. And make sure you tighten this correctly. Don't need any loose connections here. Okay, once we've installed the positive and negative cable, I'm going to put this back in place. Make sure you put the top of the board in with the 2 tabs, and then gently push the board back into place. There we go, now it's secured. Just finish off with tightening up the positive and negative cables. Make sure now you've got the torque on there. They're nice and tight. And that takes care of the DC side. All right, next we're moving on to the AC side. So we've got our live cable, our neutral, and our ground. So we just want to feed these all up through the hole on the 110 side. Again, make sure you got plenty of cable to pull that up through. And then just finish off with the ground. Don't worry if it moves slightly, we're going to fix that down at the end of the process. So again, starting with the live, again the breaker's still off, we're just going to be installing this into there. Next after that, we're going to move to our neutral. Goes up in the top corner here. And then onto our ground connection, back into the top here. Okay, now that we've tightened all of the AC and DC cabling, just make sure everything is back in place. You can even just filter a bit of that back down below now, just to free up the area for all the other breakers and outlets that could be in there. Obviously this is all tight, and just the last thing it requires now is just to tighten the 2 tabs to keep the unit in place, so obviously it doesn't slip around during any type of movement. Just quickly screw those in place. That's it, we're all set. Last thing to do is just put the cover back on. Obviously, flick our breaker over, we're all set. Cover back on. And there we go, installation of the PowerMax MBA series into the lower tray of a competitor power center.